Hey gang, welcome back to your third helping of EDH goodness. For this game, I decided to bust out my Meren of Clan Neltoth deck, Matt was playing his Child of Alara deck again, and Jeff was on Niv-Mizzet the Firemind. For opening hands, I kept Swamp, Necrotic Ooze, Animate Dead, Jorga Tree Speaker, Winter Orb, Woodland Cemetery, and Putrefy. Matt's opening hand consisted of Golgari Guildgate, Vesuva, Worm Harvest, Selesnya Sanctuary, Polluted Mire, Plains, and Keranos God of the Storms. Jeff keeps an opener with Island, Forgotten Cave, Misdirection, Blue Sun Zenith, Psychosis Crawler, Izzet Signet, and Incendiary Command. I win the die roll and choose to start. For my first turn, I play a Swamp and pass. Niv follows and plays a Forgotten Cave tapped. For Child's turn, he plays a Golgari Guildgate and passes back to me. For my turn, I play a Forest and then tap it to play a Jorga Tree Speaker. On his turn, Niv drops an island and plays an Izzet Signet. On his turn, Child plays Selesnya Sanctuary, bouncing Golgari Guildgate back to his hand. At the end of his turn, having 8 cards in hand, he drops Ulamog the Infinite Gyre to the graveyard to shuffle it back in. I drop a Woodland Cemetery, then tap my 2 other lands to level up Jorga Tree Speaker. Unfortunately, the camera becomes a bit unfocused at this point due to Child's powerful shuffling, but essentially Niv-Mizzet plays a Reliquary Tower, then cycles Dizzy Spell. He finds a Soul Ring and taps out to play it. Child simply plays Golgari Guildgate and then passes turn. Seeing an opportunity, I tap out, cast Meren, and then follow that up with a Carrion Feeder. I sacrifice the Carrion Feeder to itself to gain an experience counter and return it to the field at the end of my turn. Niv seems to be ramping harder than the 2 green decks, and plays a Volcanic Island before casting Psychosis Crawler. At the end of Niv's turn, Child cycles Polluted Mire. During his main phase, he drops Vesuva, copying Volcanic Island, then passes turn. Now at this point, I decide I don't like Psychosis Crawler on the field and make a bit of a mistake. Thinking I had a chance to kill Psychosis Crawler, I play Winter's Orb before following it up with Nature's Claim. What I was unaware of was that Niv-Mizzet had Misdirection in his hand since the beginning. My mistake costs me my Winter's Orb, but on the plus side I do gain 4 life. Disheartened, I sacrifice Carrion Feeder for an experience counter and then pass my turn to bring it back at the end of turn. On Niv's turn, because of Psychosis Crawler, Child and I take 1 damage as he draws. Wanting to further our pain, Niv taps out and drops his general. He drops an Evolving Wild for his turn, cracks it to go find an island, and then attacks Child of Alara for 2 damage. At the end of Niv's turn, Child cycles Tranquil Thicket. For his turn, he plays Lily Sandbar tapped and passes turn. I drop a Swamp for my turn, and knowing how Niv-Mizzet tends to work, I decide to kill the Psychosis Crawler before it gets a little out of hand. I follow up by sacking Carrion Feeder again to get another experience counter and so on and so forth, and then pass my turn. Using Niv-Mizzet's trigger when he draws, Jeff blasts me in the face for 1. With no land to play, Niv just drops Lily of Anticipation and passes his turn. Child draws Reflecting Pool for his turn and immediately plays it, tapping out and dropping Child of Alara. On my turn, I drop a Forest, then cast Necrotic Ooze. Niv responds by trying to Curse of the Swine, Child of Alara, and Meren. In response to that, Child uses Reflecting Pool and Crop Rotation to crack his Lonely Sandbar to go find High Market. Further adding to the stack, Niv taps and blasts me for 1 in the face. With High Market on the field, Child uses it to sacrifice his general, I gain 4 experience counters, and everything goes to the bin. On his turn, Niv has no plays and passes turn to Child. On Child's turn, he drops a plane and casts Keranos before passing. On my turn, I draw Green Sun Zenith and cast it to find Courser of Kruphix. I reveal Temple of Malady off the top of my library, play it, gain 1 life, and scry, which is pretty good even for a tap land. I reveal Pox, but not wanting to lose my only creature if I cast it, put it on the bottom before revealing Victimize. Yet again, Niv passes and does nothing. On Child's turn, using Keranos' trigger, he reveals a Toper Orb and blasts Niv-Mizzet in the face for 3. He follows that up by playing a Scrubland, and then taps 5 to play Worm Harvest, getting 3 tokens onto the field. He then casts Treasure Hunt, revealing 2 lands and hitting Wargate before passing turn. For my turn, I decide to be a nice guy, or at least try, and just cast Meren, returning Necrotic Ooze at the end of my turn, but no one seems too happy about that. Niv finally does something this turn and plays an island, and then passes. With Keranos' trigger, Child flips Nature's Lore, blasting Necrotic Ooze for 3. During his main phase, Child decides to Wargate for 3, which Niv-Mizzet decides to copy, using Reiterate with buyback. Child finds Seismic Assault, while Niv goes for everyone's favorite card when you want to ask someone if they pay 1 for that, Heuristic Study. Before combat, Child pitches 2 lands to Seismic Assault, nuking Meren and sending her back to my command zone. He then swings all of his worms at Niv-Mizzet, and follows that up by playing Temple of Abaddon and scries the top card of his library. He then taps the rest of his mana to cast Torpor Orb and doesn't pay 1 for that. On my turn, I cast Triskelion because he comes into the battlefield with the counters, not when he enters the battlefield. I then use those counters to blow up all of Child's worms. We realize that I also didn't pay 1, so Niv gets to draw again, which is just super. Passing to Niv, he plays an island on his turn before casting Thought Reflection, because what's better than drawing 1 Heuristic Study? Why, drawing 2, of course! On Child's turn, Keranos hits a land for the first time this game, and as a result, he gets to draw an additional card. On his main phase, he taps for Badoka Gardener and makes sure to pay the 1 so that Niv can't draw 2 cards off his 1 spell. He follows that up by pitching a land to retrace Worm Harvest, getting 6 worms and still paying the 1 extra cost for Mystic Study. On my turn, I draw, revealing a swamp off the top, which I play with Courser to gain 1 life. During my main phase, I play Ophiomancer, then go to combat, swinging Triskelion at Child for 1 damage. On Niv's upkeep, I get a 1/1 worm with Death Touch because value. On his turn, Niv drops an island, then immediately casts Faithless Looting. With his Thought Reflection, he gets to draw 4 cards and pitch 2. He follows that up with the Jace's Archivist, and then passes. On Child's turn, Keranos triggers, hits a land, and he draws an extra card. Pitching a land, he uses Seismic Assault to kill Jace's Archivist. Moving to combat, he swings all of his worms and his Badoka Gardener at Niv-Mizzet. Taking all 8 to the face, Niv drops to 26. During his second main phase, Child pitches Maze of Ith to recast Worm Harvest, getting an additional 8 worms to the field. For my turn, I cast Phyrexian Devourer, paying the 1 additional mana, then swing with Worm and Triskelion, with 1 damage going at each of them. On Niv's turn, he drops a mountain and then casts Blasphemous Act. This works in my favor because I've been trying to get Phyrexian Devourer and Triskelion into my bin for the whole game, the reason for which will become very apparent on my next turn. Niv follows that up by casting Tunnel Vision, naming Omniscience. What he doesn't know is that he's about to go super deep into his library to find that card. After finding it, he passes turn. Keranos triggers again on Child's turn, finding him another land and drawing him another card. Knowing fully well what Niv-Mizzet is capable of when drawing 2 cards instead of 1, Child decides to use all his dust to remove Thought Reflection. He follows that up with a Haunted Fengraf and passes turn. On my turn, I move to main phase and cast Animate Dead, targeting Necrotic Ooze. With Ooze on the field, I'm able to use Triskelion and Phyrexian Devourer's triggered abilities to eat my library and then use all those 1/1 counters to pinging Matt and Jeff in the face, winning me the game. Looking back, I feel like I played the deck very well. Jeff quickly established himself as the main opponent of the game, so all of my removal against him bought me goodwill with Matt, who in turn would only attack Jeff. It's hard to predict, but I feel like I made a huge misplay casting Winter Orb before Nature's Claim, which we saw get blown out by Misdirection. I could brush it off as saying that I didn't know that Jeff had Misdirection, but the reality of it is I should clean up my lines of play a little bit better to help prevent any kind of blowouts like that in the future. In terms of stopping my combo, it turns out that Niv did have a counter in his hand and could have prevented the Animate Dead, but he didn't realize the interaction with Devourer and Triskelion in my graveyard. Child, unfortunately, wasn't able to do anything because he didn't have enough lands to even be able to respond properly. Plus, I was going to exile cards to make him bigger and bigger anyway, and then remove them all before he could even resolve his triggers on the stack. Well, gang, that's our 3rd game. I hope you enjoyed it. We were able to record a 4th one with a little bit of a different setup, so hopefully you'll like that. So look forward to seeing that in the future. Thanks for watching.